Alright everyone, this is Sawyer, and we are here with digging into the collection issue 7. So, let's get off to a start. First off, we have the West Coast Avengers, number 12. Yeah, number 12. Yeah, West Coast Avengers is a pretty cool series. I'm trying to remember. I believe it's like, it was basically like the Avengers split into different groups that like basically were protecting different parts of the country. And it was like it was just a way to kind of like split the team up and get more focused stories with different cast members, like have different lineups. And the West Coast Avengers was interesting because it was led by Hawkeye, which people that watch the movies wouldn't think Hawkeye is very much of a character, but in the comic book history, in the long term comic book history, Hawkeye is actually a pretty impressive character, especially for having no powers. I mean, he's pretty much like you know. It's hard to explain, but he's one of the most, he's got some of the most drive and most driven characters in the Marvel universe, and he's kind of like, he's basically, he's a born leader. He's been the leader of the Avengers a lot, but I think the West Coast Avengers, if I remember right, was like the first time he really took up the mantle of leadership, and it focused a lot on him and Mockingbird, his girlfriend, and it also had Iron Man was on the team, and Wonder Man, and also Tigress, I believe, was on the team. And it was just kind of cool because I really like Hawkeye, and I always enjoy Hawkeye when he's kind of got that leadership, mentality and all that. So yeah, if you're a Hawkeye fan, you would definitely enjoy the West Coast Avengers because it is definitely like a story of his his leadership, his team. I'm gonna put these over here. Let's see. Okay, cool. Next up, we have Superman number 104, the Cyborg and Darkseid. This is kind of a generic 90s cover. I think this is like after the death of Superman storyline when Superman came back to life, and the Cyborg was still kind of lingering around. I think the Cyborg had got destroyed, but then he was able to kind of reboot himself and like get like a new body on Darkseid's planet, and yeah, so. And then that has to be before the Doomsday Returns storyline, because I think that's when Cyborg and Superman was actually destroyed for real. Next up, we have one of these free comic book day comics. I have a bunch of these laying around. Every free comic book day, I pick up the ones that look interesting to me, and they're interesting. A lot of them are just like a lot of them are just like the first issue of a story. But this is like the Teenage Mutant Turtles. I'm not really a huge Mutant Turtles guy. I mean, I liked it when I was little, but I've kind of outgrown, I mean, I'm not saying it for kids, because they're not, but I've kind of outgrown it over the years, just not as interested in it as I used to be. And, but this is a cool cover. I like this, I'm not sure who does this art, but I like this art. It's a very distinctive art style, too. Like, whenever I see those covers like that, I know that the same person did it. So, next up we have the Harbinger number 10. From the new Valiant reprint or whatever. It's a really cool cover. It kind of focuses on Harada. Man, Harada is an awesome bad guy. If you guys don't really know your Valiant comics or your Harbingers, storylines, you should really check out Harbinger, because I'm not saying like Harbinger is the best series, but the villain Harada is one of the best villains in the Valiant universe, or really in comic books. He's kind of got like a He's kind of got he's got kind of Magneto mentality a little bit. Like he's kind of like, because all the Harbinger characters are basically basically mutants. They have they're born with powers. But Harada is really interesting because he's basically kind of like Magneto if Magneto basically wanted to take over the world by going a different route, by going a corporate route. Because Harada is like this godlike telekinesis guy and telepath, but instead of just declaring war on the world and put himself out in the open, he tries to take over in a more subtle way by rising up in the ranks of corporate America, creating this giant company, and basically just trying to win through greed and money. And it's just an interesting villain. He's very powerful, but he hardly ever engages in fights because he's got enough money to just hire people to do stuff and just hide behind lawyers and all that. It's just a very interesting villain. Next up, we have Hardwire number 1, and I have and right here I have Hardwire number 2. So Hardwire is basically, is that how you say his name? Hardware. Hardware? Is it hardware? Oh, my bad. It's hardware. Okay. So hardware is an interesting character because he comes from, I don't know if you can see it there, the M. He comes from the Milestone imprint of DC Comics, which is what the M stands for right there in the corner. And imprint, I mean not imprint. Milestone is basically in the 90s DC was going for all these different imprints. I think they had like 3 or 4 different ones going on. They had Vertical, which is their most successful one ever. They had Wildstar, or was that later? They had Impact Comics, which are Impact Comics, which I'm a big fan of. And then they had Milestone, which I don't really know that much about. I haven't really collected very many of them. All I really know is that Milestone was is famous for kind of being like mostly African American characters. And I believe most of the creative talent were African Americans too. So it was basically just a way to kind of get that audience into comics, to get them collecting, buying books, also showcasing the talents of that demographic. So yeah, they're really interesting. And Hardwire, I keep saying Hardwire. Hardware was one of the flagship characters, even though he wasn't really that successful in the long run. Now the character who was successful in the long run, probably the best thing to come out of this imprint, besides the idea. I mean, the idea itself was awesome, giving African Americans a exclusive platform to work on. But the thing that the character that really kind of shined from this was Static Shock. He was introduced in this imprint, and he eventually was moved over to mainstream DC Universe, and he's featured quite a lot in the mainstream DC Universe. He also had a very successful cartoon, like in the 2000s, which I grew up watching that cartoon. It's actually a really cool cartoon. Yeah, I think it was. I want to say it was. Yeah, it was part of the Bruce Timm universe with Batman, the Avengers of Batman, the Avengers of Superman. So yeah, it's a cool cartoon. Then we got Countdown number 45. The Countdown books, I've shown some of these before in my videos, but the Countdown books are basically whenever a few years back, DC was trying to bring back the whole multiple Earths thing, which I mean now it's completely back. It's it's a part of the continuity now. But this is when they were kind of bringing it back, and they had the 52 Earths, and they basically had this series that was I believe it went for 52 issues, and each issue it's got this big number on the top with Countdown, and it's basically just going down the line. I used to collect a lot of these, like when they were first coming out. I was picking them up weekly or monthly or whatever, but yeah, I stopped. I think around like 30 something I stopped. But yeah, Countdown 45 is pretty cool. The Countdown series, I think the biggest thing that it did was it brought back Jason Todd. Because if I remember right, this is where Jason Todd first came back as the Red Hood or whatever. So that's pretty cool. Next up, we have this Porky Pig comic from Whitman Comics. It's really beat up. You can see all this water damage stuff on it. It's really beat up, but it's kind of cool. Yeah, I like picking up those old cartoon characters and stuff comics because it's just interesting. And I do run. I'm not selling that one because it's such bad shape. But I do run this kind of like little local comic book market thing where I'm based. Like we have trade shows and stuff that go on different parts of the the year and stuff like that. And I try to go to those, and I sell books. I put up a table and sell my comics. And I try to pick up kids comics when I can because it's a pretty big seller. Like there's usually a lot of little ones running around. There's usually a lot of parents running around, and usually the kids books are cheap, so I can put them for sale for like $1 or something, and they'll buy it. It's a good way to it's a good thing. It's an easy thing to sell. And it's also a good, it's good at attracting people to the table because like a parent walks by, and normally apparently like these parents or grandparents, they're not really looking to buy comic books. They're not really interested in comic books. They'll walk right past your table. But if they see, I don't know, if they see something that if they know their grandkid will like it, if they see like let's see Sonic. They see a Sonic comic book, the Hedgehog, and they know their grandson really loves Sonic the Hedgehog, then they might go buy it if it's 50 cents or $1 or something, So yeah, that's usually why I pick up Looney Tunes books and stuff like that, or Scooby-Doo books and stuff like that. Next up we have Shadow Man. Number 7. This is a really cool variant cover that the Valiant did. So Valiant actually had this like thing where they did a retro like 16-bit or 8-bit or whatever video game, video game homage covers with a bunch of their titles. And this is one that's it's kind of like an homage to Final Fantasy. You can see here on the bottom it's got the attacks and stuff, or the attack order and all that from the old games, and it's basically all the Shadow Man main cast members fighting against Mr. Twist. I think that's what the villain's name was, Mr. Twist. So yeah, that's pretty cool. They have a lot of those. They have an EXO one that's basically like, no, they have a Bloodshot one that's making fun, or that's parodying the old I can't think what it's called now, Counter Strike or something like that, or anyway. But basically, they have a bunch of these that are making fun of different games, or are in the style of different games from back then. So they're really cool. They're really cool variant covers. Very interesting to pick up. Next up, we have the Avengers. Number 5. This is based off the animated series that was in the 90s, or maybe it was the 2000s. It was really cool. I used to like that cartoon. The thing I liked about the cartoon was they decided to not focus on like the major people in the Avengers. Like they had maybe one episode that featured Captain America. I think one episode featured Iron Man, and I think one episode featured Thor, and then the other characters weren't even in there. Like such as Hawk and all that. Instead, they focused on they had some of the powerhouses. They had Vision and Scarlet Witch, but the show kind of focused a lot like on Ant-Man, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Wonder Man. Some of the characters you don't see as much in the mainstream, Marvel TV universe and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a cool cartoon. I liked it. And so I picked up a couple of those issues a while back when I saw them. Next up, we have X-Men. Professor Xavier in the X-Men number 16. So yeah, it's just like a late 90s X-Men comic. I think I got that out of a lot. Every once in a while I buy these like lots from like Amazon, and like I just bought one. I just bought one last night. I just bought one like 30 minutes ago actually, and it should be at my house like in 2 days because I have Amazon Prime. But so yeah, I pick up these lots every once in a while. They're just kind of fun to go through because it's randomized. You get like, I think you get 25 random books for like $10, something like that. And anytime I can get books that basically equal, anytime I can get a lot of books that are like less than $1 a piece or $1 a piece, I go for that because that's a good deal. Now, if I can get 25 books for $10, that means that the books are like, what, 50 cents a piece or something like that. I don't know exactly the math, but it means they're cheaper than $1 a piece, which is cool. I like that. Next up, we have Eternal Warrior number 2. This is a tie-in to the Unity storyline. This is actually part 10 of the Unity storyline. Guys, I can't really recommend Valiant Comics enough. I mean, yes, the new stuff is good too. But the original, like 1990s Valiant, was amazing. It's just some of the best storytelling you'll get. Some of the most adult storytelling you'll get in comic books. And I don't mean adult just as like in violent or sexual. I mean adult like in concept and in themes. Like they deal with some really edgy, kind of messed up subject matter and really get into it. And Unity was just an amazing like storyline. Like they pretty much started with Unity. I think Unity was pretty much like, well, it wasn't the start, but Unity was very early in Valiant's universe when they didn't have a whole lot of titles. So it was just very, it was basically kind of like their version of Crisis, like their crazy earth-shattering event or universe-shattering event. And it's really, really good, guys. It's really good. Like all the characters really feel like they matter in the story. Like even the characters that don't have, even the characters like Archer and Armstrong or Shadow Man, they don't really have as powerful. They're not as powerful as the rest of the group, but they still have storylines. They still have things they do in the story that really matter, that make the difference. Like for example, Shadow Man has a whole crazy storyline where he actually, like, he thinks he's a hero. Like he thinks he's saving somebody by taking out this, by helping them defeat Solar. Who Solar is like pretty much the Superman of their universe, like the most powerful, like their flagship powerhouse. So he helps defeat Solar, and he thinks he's doing a good job. He almost dies from it. He gets hurt by so much energy. He gets all burned up, but in reality, he's actually he's actually helping the villain take out the one person that can really stop her. And so that was awesome because it's one of those things where, you know, he judges he just jumps into the situation not knowing anything, and he basically goes and makes the wrong decision, which is crazy. You know, it's something you don't see all that often in superheroes, just making a really bad decision. And so he kind of has to redeem himself eventually by helping break him out, you know, and helping the change the tide of the fight. But yeah, I don't want to talk too much about, you know, any one book, but I do get kind of caught up in talking about storylines that I really like or whatever. Unity is a storyline I really like. It's very, very good, and it's very consistent. You know, like just like all the original Valiant is very consistent, very focused. You know, it's not like convoluted with, you know, like 100 characters like, you know, like Marvel or DC does. You know, their stories were usually a lot more focused, a lot more tight. So yeah, so check it out. Next up, we have the Edge of Venomverse #1. I don't know why. I bought this because it was $1 at my Books A Million, and it had a really, really cool cover. So I checked it out. You know, I'm not really a fan. I mean, I like Venom. He's a cool villain and all, but I'm not really one of those Venom fanboys that I have to get everything Venom. You know, I don't have like a bunch of collector's issues of Venom. I don't have like the first appearance or anything like that. I don't really care to have the first appearance. It's not a character that I overly enjoy. But I do like his character design. I think he looks cool, and a lot of covers that have Venom kind of related artwork are usually pretty cool. Like a lot of those Venomized variant covers that come out, those are pretty cool. Those are really cool. Am I gonna pay like $10, $15, however much they are for them? No. Will I pay $1 for them, or will I pay a couple dollars? Like, will I pay cover price for them? Probably. You know, if I see them out in the open, I'll catch them. You know, but you know, I'm not one to really go out scouting them out, buying them on eBay and stuff like that. Next up, we have Shadow Man, another Valiant character, #0. This is actually the character I was talking about just a while ago, the one that kind of fucks up and, you know, helps the villain defeat Solar. He's a really interesting character actually because he's a I mean, first of all, he's an African American character. You know, like back in the days when you didn't have as many of those. He's also a Southern Louisiana boy. You know, kind of. I'm from Louisiana, so I love when I see superheroes or characters that are representing my state. You know, there isn't very many of us. You know, well, I'm not a superhero, but there's not very many Louisiana people that are featured heavily in comics. I mean, you have Gambit, you have Swamp Thing, and maybe there's a couple other ones in recent years, but Shadow Man was one of the few, you know, for the longest time, and it's because so he's basically a jazz singer. He lives in, you know, New Orleans because, you know, that's where jazz singers pretty much be at, and he gets possessed by like this, you know, ancient voodoo spirit thing that basically kind of makes him go crazy. And well, he only goes crazy when it's nighttime. At nighttime, he just kind of becomes this like he gets kind of like enhanced strength, and he becomes this really kind of, you know, psychopath guy that basically hunts demons and evil doers and stuff. So he's really interesting. He's kind of just this weird. He's just kind of this weird, crazy man, kind of anti-hero guy. You know, he's usually not afraid to break boundaries and, you know, beat the bad guys to a pulp. He's also interesting because he's usually very unpredictable in since he's actually crazy, since that's part of his power set. He's usually very unpredictable, very hard to catch and, you know, to figure out. So, and that's kind of like, and that kind of goes with him being a jazz singer. That's kind of like I guess the what do we call it? The idea behind it, because, you know, because jazz is mostly improv. You know, it's mostly just you know, at the moment you start playing music and you start making music, and you don't have it scripted or anything. So that, you know, that's kind of the idea of what the character is. He's just this character that never really goes in with a plan. He just kind of unscripted and he just does his thing. So next up we have Harbingers #5, another Valiant book. I have a lot of Valiant books, so if you watch enough of my videos, you will see lots of them. Really cool cover. I basically want to talk about the cover. It's just a really cool cover. You have Harada here, the bad guy I was talking about earlier. He's kind of just taking apart Peter, which is like kind of the main character, the hero of the story. He's just like ripping him apart. Now, this doesn't happen in the book, obviously, because if it did, the book wouldn't have lasted very much longer, because Peter is like the only person that can ever really stand up to Harada in that series. Then we have Star Trek: The Next Generation. This is a little free comic book day issue. Really cool cover though. I like this cover. It's an I want to almost say Alex Ross. It might. It looks like it could be an Alex Ross cover. Like, it looks like it could have that kind of Like it does have that kind of painted style to it, but I doubt it. It does look cool though. Like I love old man Picard. I mean, Picard's already an old man, but he just has that beard. That's cool. And the last book I have for this little video is this kid cult outlaw book. You know, kind of old cowboy Marvel book. Marvel had a lot of these cowboy books in the 70s or whatever. And the main thing I like about this cover is it just has this really cool kind of villain in the background. They call him the Robin Hood Raider. He's just kind of this, you know, KKK looking dude. Well, he's got a red hood, but red hood? I'm kidding. He's just got this red hood. He's got a bow and arrow. And he's like shooting people. So it's kind of cool. It's just a cool cover. I like it. So yeah, guys, that's my video. That's my video comics that I pulled, you know, out of my collection for this episode. I'm definitely gonna try to start doing more hauls, like actually pick up new books. I hadn't picked up any new books in a while. I mean, I picked up a couple keys here and there, like, you know, one book at a time when I go to the store. But I'm gonna start trying to actually pick up some hauls. One, because I'm trying to get more books so I can, you know, increase my inventory for when I start really getting into selling again. You know, whenever the next few trade shows come up, I'll have more books to display. But B, it's because I really just want to I want to be able to do more videos, and I mean yes, I have a ton of videos I can do with my collection, but I just want to be able to have some fresh books for you guys to look at, you know, and see, and that are kind of fresh in my mind too. But it's just kind of, I probably won't be able to do that much until, like, you know, to next year basically, because, you know, Christmas is around the corner. I still got a couple gifts to buy. You know, money's a little bit tight this time of year. I mean, as I'm sure it is with most people. But yeah, like whenever we get to 2018, I'll probably be doing more videos. I also don't have good transportation because I live in a rural area. I don't have a car, so it is hard to get to the comic book shop whenever I want to go. And so, you know, I don't go as much as I don't. And I only got one shop in town, so I don't go as much as I would like to. But yeah, you're definitely gonna have to try and make it a habit of going more often. So, you know, so expect to see lots of new books popping up in my collection in the next few months. So thanks, guys, and see you later.